The Emperor has foreseen a new threat rising against him. The Podwans Podcast.
Welcome to the Podwans Podcast. I just ate an entire fucking pizza.
That's hilarious. Not Charmin.
I went to go turn off my light. It was an action shot. Sorry.
That was so funny.
I'm dead sprinting halfway through the intro.
Oh my god, that was amazing.
Charlie Johnson, how are you? How are you doing today?
I just fall in my chair when I'm coming in. I'm good. How have you guys been? Lots to talk about with Andor. Lots to talk about
Andor. I don't want to talk about Andor though. I want to talk about pizzas. What's your favorite kind of pizza, guy? I just ate one.
Honestly, you can't go wrong with just a plain cheese pie, bro. It's great.
Cheese pie.
I mean, I do live in the capital of pizza towns. You know, New Jersey being known as the best pizza.
I think it's the neighbor to the best pizza.
That moniker.
I was gonna say, I was like, Charlie, who's actually from the place where deep dishes are from, not like the neighborhood of deep dishes.
The fuck you talking about, bud?
Jersey's not New York.
Yeah, but it's pretty much the same thing. New Jersey doesn't have their own like local newses. They use all New York or Philadelphia.
Yeah, and Des Moines, Iowa is also the same thing as Chicago, I guess.
Absolutely not. That's two completely different things.
They're pretty close.
No, they are not. Not even close to what I am. I am an hour 45.
You guys need to stop yapping.
2 hours top.
Anyways, Charlie, what's your favorite type of pizza?
Cheese.
Cheese? All right.
Do you like deep dish, Char? Since
I do.
You're from.
Yeah.
I've had it once. Yeah. I think it's interesting. It's a very interesting texture. But I do enjoy it.
Of all the things, the texture is what you're worried about? Not the thickness, not the way like it's positioned and like the way that like it's panned and
have you had New York pizza and do you like it?
I have had New York pizza. I was actually when I went to New York at the end of 2023. It was the first time I've ever had New York style pizza.
New York
style. I have a video.
Oh,
I actually did it completely wrong because you know how like when you have a New York style slice of pizza, you kind of like fold it. You
gotta fold it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's the best part.
There's a video of me just like say this is a slice of pizza. I went like this with it.
Wow, you made it like a taco.
I went like the tip of the pizza went all the way back to the crust, and I have a video of it. And my friend was absolutely disgusted with me. I felt so bad.
You know what? I Charlie Johnson, you've been voted off the island.
Whoa!
Yeah. Wait, we're talking about Survivor now. Let's go. I'm kidding.
Rude.
What did I do?
I'm just kidding.
We all live and learn. It's okay.
I know, and you know what the good thing is? The place that I actually went to get my first ever New York style pizza was Joe's Pizza, the place where Tobey Maguire worked out in Spider-Man 2.
Oh, nice!
Right in Times Square, yeah.
All right.
Hereth, what's your favorite type of pizza?
Man, I'm gonna be a little bit of a heathen on here. I'm gonna go with a good old cheeseburger style pizza, which is cheese, pepperoni, and ground beef.
All right, I'm out of here.
From where?
Again,
it matters.
Matters.
It matters.
Okay, if it matters, okay.
Cheese pizza.
If a gun to my head, okay. If we had to go with like, fine. I'll go with the stereotypical safe answer. Okay, we'll go with a New York style pepperoni and cheese pizza. Okay, is that the safe answer you guys want?
Okay, yeah, that's fair. New York style pizza does fuck though. It is very, very good.
Yeah, it's very good. I've never had like traditional Chicago. I've never been to Chicago. I've been to O'Hare Airport for a layover, but never been to Chicago.
Chicago's a fun town. If Star Wars Celebration were going to Chicago, like, well, I would go in and there would be no thought of it. I could go watch the Cubs, who are better than Char's White Sox right now and have been for a while now. But we're not going to get into that because we're not a sports podcast. Just want to throw that in there.
Not a sports podcast, but there's two people who are wearing black T-shirts, and then the other half are wearing sports T-shirts.
Hey, and I'm doing both. I've got a black T-shirt with the sports logo thing.
This was an
Wow,
accident.
Vanessa Skak, a Skak attack, a Skak attack. Holy crap.
Oh yeah, Vanessa, I was telling the story about me with the slice of pizza and how I yeah.
Anyway, before we get into Andor, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about a certain little film that's going to be re-released in theaters tomorrow or today.
Yes, that is true. I was actually looking at AMC locations near me.
Yeah,
there's actually one that's like 20 minutes away that it's showing Revenge of the Sith. I really
Yeah,
want to go either tomorrow or Saturday.
I need to look up showings near me.
yeah. It's Alanis and I are going for a little date night tomorrow night. We're gonna go watch.
Yeah, I'll probably just go with myself. Date by myself.
Let's go.
Usual. Yeah.
Somebody in the chat might be able to help you out with that, but
Typical
anyway.
Char Char J thing. That's what I do.
So, where were you 20
look, I got
years ago?
Starburst. Oh, sorry.
Where
was
were
I
you
20
years ago during Revenge of the Sith?
Watching
what's
Revenge
funny,
of the
Luke?
Sith.
Where was I 20 years ago? Watching the White Sox win the World Series. Yeah. Yeah, very funny. Yeah.
You were like 3, Char. I was like 2. Let's pipe it down just a little. Let's take it down.
Hereth,
Right.
it's 2025. You fool.
Anyway,
The math, I was
Chase
5.
remembers.
I was 5.
Chase,
I remember vividly going multiple times to see Revenge of the Sith.
what did you think before? What did you think before you started critically thinking?
Okay, let's break this down.
Revenge of the Sith is the worst thing that George Lucas has done to Star Wars. Let me tell you why. He does not understand the concept of Darth Vader himself.
And no,
That just sounded like you when talking about Anakin Skywalker's characterization in Clone Wars.
it's true though. The thing about the prequels when they were coming out is there was a lot of hate around them, especially when Revenge of the Sith was coming out. And when that movie came out, and as much as I can criticize the movie openly, and I feel like there's been enough time to do that, and now all the like 20-year-old white boys, they think it's genuinely the greatest movie ever made. Of all movies.
It's not. It's a good movie in my opinion. I think it's a good movie.
But I liked the movie when I saw it. I was like, this was so cool. There's so many good set pieces to this film, like from the Battle of Coruscant to the crashing of the Republic cruiser.
Dreadnought.
Yep. So you crash that. That's great. You have the stuff that happens on Utapau. You have the stuff that's going on basically everywhere in this movie. Then we get to Order 66, and then you get to Mustafar. There's just so many good set pieces going on throughout this whole movie, and like it's a good ride. And then you obviously get the really, in my opinion, at the time, is like junior, senior in high school. It's a little fuzzy. I graduated in 2006. So like
it'd have been going
into senior year or like the beginning of my senior year. So like getting to see Darth Vader and Tarkin and the Death Star being assembled, and then Luke and Leia, being handed off into Coruscant or to Alderaan and Tatooine. Like these were really cool moments. And I distinctly remember that the number one thing going around on the internet was no, like that was everywhere. It was to me, and this is just my memory, it was worse than Somehow Palpatine Returned. Like you could not open your mouth about this movie without someone saying no. So
it became very memeable. Really, really quick.
It was one of the original memes.
Yeah.
And like I think a lot of people, the most common critique of this movie was it was better than Phantom and Attack of the Clones. Like that was all people had to say. It was like it was better than the other two.
Yeah.
but no, like it was a lot of fun to go see in theaters. I saw it multiple times. I did go see it again when they showed when Force Awakens came out. They showed all 6 movies back to back in the theater, so that was really cool.
Crazy.
Saw all 6 movies back to back, and then we went to another theater and then saw Force Awakens at midnight. So like that was super cool. But yeah, like it was a fun time. Like it really was. Like it was fun to see it in theaters. I'm excited to go see it in theaters again.
Same.
It's low in my rankings, just critically looking at it, but I'm so excited to go see it again.
I am not gonna lie to you. I'm gonna cry multiple times during that movie.
Oh no, it's an emotional movie. 100%. Like when Padme's funeral is like devastating. Like,
I mean, no, I mean just like hearing the score.
Oh,
seeing
sure.
The saber fight on
that happens every time I see a Star Wars movie in the theater.
Okay, I mean, I agree. I'm with like Chase. Like Revenge of the Sith is pretty low, like lower on my list than most people is. But like, I will agree, it's probably the best scored Star Wars movie of saga.
Absolutely.
I don't know about that
Just
one.
talking about-
I think you mean you like Battle of the Heroes.
Know what we're talking about.
Whoa. We're talking about Battle over Coruscant. We're talking
Battle of the Heroes.
I couldn't tell you
Battle of
what
the
Battle of the
Heroes.
Battle
Talking
over
about
Coruscant sounds like.
Anakin's Dark Deed.
It's just
Anakin Dark Steed is what I think of, and I hear Palpatine's speech. Like I hear Palpatine's speech with like that over it.
Nah, that and seeing Anakin cry gets me every single time.
Dude,
I
literally, like,
love that.
I would give the Phantom Menace as a better score than the fucking Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, I would say.
Like there are so many memorable scores.
It's not.
Well, first of all, the Temple March is not from.
It's from Attack of the.
It's not. It's from Attack of the Clones.
It's Love
I'm
Pledge
talking
in
about
the arena.
I'm talking about like the actual Order 66 like moment. Like the actual score
like
over
Anakin's
that.
betrayal. You're talking about that piece of music.
Anakin's betrayals. That's the
Anakin's betrayal.
too.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Well,
I think
honestly,
that
the best
Empire,
that
A
movie
New
is
Hope, and
Anakin's Dark
Empire.
Deeds.
Yeah, A New Hope and Empire have like the best
Empire has
scores.
the best
Like,
score.
yeah. Like, don't give me that look.
Alone, the asteroid field. Oh my god!
Like the Imperial March, the Asteroid Field, the Battle of Hoth. Like these are like the sounds of Star Wars.
I will concede. I will.
A lot of these other themes derive from the Empire Strikes Back.
All right, you two. All right, I get it. Anyway.
Captain Solo in the
this was my real start to being a fanatic of Star Wars. Like I loved it seeing Phantom Menace and seeing Attack of the Clones, but this movie like took it beyond anything that I could imagine. So I'm really excited to see it in theaters. And for the two that haven't seen it in theaters, yeah, it's going to be a fun experience for you guys. I think it's going to be a very
good movie to see in the theaters because of how big it is.
I wondered why. Well, obviously, I'm sure they're going to show it for like. I wonder why they didn't do a 20 for the Clones, but they didn't. But I've seen. I did see Empire. I did see Revenge of the. I saw Return of the Jedi with you, Luke. I saw Phantom Menace in theaters, and then I'm gonna go see Revenge of the Sith.
I saw Return of the Jedi with these two.
There's some like weird euphoria when it comes to like watching the prequels in theaters because around like 04, 05 was like my Star Wars awakening. I didn't really understand what all this meant or what the story was about. All I was just fascinated by was the starships, the lightsabers, and the characters.
Yeah.
Because the first ever Star Wars game I played was the first ever Lego Star Wars that came out.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was like
that was
me
the
just
new.
running
That was
around
the
Dexter's Diner,
that was the original trilogy.
Splashing Flo in the diner and walking out.
Same.
Wait, hold on.
On PS2.
But
what?
That one they released the Lego Star Wars. Like the originals, the original one, that was the original one. Was just A New Hope. Was A New Hope, Empire, and Return of the Jedi.
I thought it was
the first one for the prequels.
Prequels.
Oh,
the first one was
I thought it was the other way around.
No.
I forget that.
No, yeah, they
there were
released
a
the
lot
original
of
trilogy eventually.
I will say
released
this:
the prequels first.
Chase will agree with me on this. This era of Star Wars video games specifically, pretty damn good.
Battlefronts. Republic Commando.
Both Battlefront games,
Fallen
Republic
Order.
Commando.
I'm not going to stand with you on this one.
Wow. All right.
This era, like this, yes, we have KOTOR, we have Battlefront, we have Republic Commando.
The Clone
And we
Wars
have-
game. That shit was fun as hell.
What about Jedi Starfighter?
Ooh, that one's
No,
so
the early
bad.
What about
2000s
Star
is
Wars
not as
Bounty
good
Hunter?
as we have it right
So
now,
bad.
gaming wise. No,
So bad.
What about Racer Revenge? Oh, look at that!
Racer
abuse.
Anyway.
No, this is my issue with this era of
Oh,
Star
the
Wars
video.
is Star Wars games is there's so many misses in this lineup because you have like stuff like Super Bombad Racing, you have Obi-Wan Kenobi, you have like Racer
I played
Revenge.
Super Bombad Racing, such a fun game.
the Phantom Menace game.
I love that game.
Yeah, I'm glad you did.
Okay, Chase. At least we agree on the scores. That's fine. That's fine.
The scores are no, there are good games from this, but there's also I feel like the quality of games from the 90s was much higher at this point. Like there was many more like influential games. Like this is when you were getting like Shadows of the Empire, the Dark Forces series. You got stuff like Pod Racer, which was like, oh my god, the original Pod Racer is so good.
Mhm.
And you had Rogue Squadron, X-Wing versus TIE Fighter. You had Galactic Battlegrounds. You had Empire at War.
Ooh, Battlegrounds. Holy shit. Don't get me started on that game. I love that game.
And then you get into like the PS2 era, which like definitely has its bankers, but I feel like this is where like some of the slop started happening. Because like basically Yoda stories happened, and then the PS2 era got ushered in. And then you get into the 360 era, which like
the most overrated era of Star Wars gaming.
well, no, it's just the Force Unleashed and then Star Wars Connect. Like that's all there was.
Well, that also is a complete saga. But you're not a Lego guy.
Oh yeah, see, I'm just not in tune with the Lego stuff, like personally. So I don't, I don't speak one way or the other. Like they all look the same to me, and I know there's differences, but like I never really I played like one of them, and I was like, yep, this is a Lego game. And then
I mean, I have the hot take of with the complete saga that it's just a compilation disc. It's just the first two games on one disc.
All right. Anyway, so switching.
Hey, but you can unlock
the
Indiana
game.
Jones in that game.
You could.
Okay.
there you go. That's a perk.
Anyway,
Luke, you sound like you have something you want to talk about.
yeah, Andor.
Yeah, talk
so
shit. Go ahead. What did you want?
Talking about
That
Andor. We got season 2. Holy shit, Char, your delay is awful.
Am I? Oh man.
Yeah, you're a little delayed. Anyway,
You're like 3 seconds behind.
yeah, you are.
Oh
But
my
that's okay.
God.
We'll make it work.
Fine.
We got the first 3 episodes of Andor season 2, and my God, do they slap? Do they slap? Talking about everything from the prequels. Genevieve O'Reilly was part of the prequels. She was in Revenge of the Sith. She's part of the delegation of the 2000. Great segue by me, but I really didn't need a segue because I had already done that. But anyway, yeah, these episodes went hard. Chase, I
They
will
sure
let you
did.
Mhm.
Yeah, let's start off with the greatest thing that has ever happened to Star Wars, the TIE Avenger opening crawl.
That is
Good.
so
Good gracious. Like when those lights came on, and like you see, like I was like, oh wow, TIE Interceptor. Huh. I was blown away, and the whole sequence. I did I won't go super deep into it because I did a whole breakdown on TikTok. Just like not even just for me, what a cool opening sequence, because we obviously get this like very detailed, meticulous like inspection, but then we have this conversation between I forget the character's name, but Cassian and then the technician like had this very good conversation about the rebellion.
Mhm.
How did you guys feel about it?
And this is I wish we had Alanis on, but when we saw Naya,
That's her name.
Alanis goes, oh my God, it's the first plus size character on screen, like as a woman. And it was really, yeah, exactly. Emma's like, Alanis was like, I'm about to cry, because this is the type of representation, even it being that small, means so much to fans. And I think that's something that I want to really put at the forefront, is Star Wars has been and will be for everyone. They might not all be represented, but it is for everyone. Like it was so nice to see a not only a plus size female character, but she was also a person of color as well. So it's like it meant so much to a whole lot of people, and I think that's very important to kind of highlight. But like the way that conversation between her and Cassian, like she's like, "Oh my God, I'm not supposed to say anything. I'm not even supposed to make eye contact." And he goes, he puts it in the simplest of terms. You're coming home to yourself, and then he also says, "You have risked everything. You don't have to apologize about anything." And it's because he knows what's in store for her.
And it's like
that if she gets caught, she goes, "If I die, is it all worth it?" Like that is some heavy hitting writing in that first dialogue, and that is W.
And like what I like about that scene is like in this one dialogue scene, you already established like what the difference between Cassian in season 1 and season 2. Like Cassian in like the first arc would never say shit like that to another person.
Right? Yeah.
No. Like you could tell that he's grown a lot since like listening to Nemec's manifesto and like taking on more of that leadership role under Luthen.
Yep. Yeah, we see a lot of like just this progression from him, how he interacts, and also what I think is so interesting is that they chose to do this on Sienar, where they manufacture the ties, and this is where they're testing new projects, and just how insane. Like in the video I made, I go into super detailed about it, but like how different this thing is, and how important that this is, and how important of a role you would have to be working on something like the TIE Avenger, and that even Naya, who is a technician working on a prototype starfighter, like is like, I can't do this. Like, I think it's very important that they did this where they did. They had the ship as it was, and the fact that this is a ship that like has every gun imaginable on it. Like this is meant to destroy things, and I think it's just one of those things. Like this is no longer about security. This is no longer about peace. And I think it's very important that they have this whole section here with that spaceship. It's not just that it's cool. Yes, it's cool as fuck, but I think it's very important that they do highlight this stuff, and that she is the one that is defecting when she is like a very prominent person. So I like this a lot. But yeah, I mean, this whole sequence is just like a really good start to this new season, because we really get set up with where Cassian is as a person. And yeah, like I just think it's just one of those things. It's just they nailed it from the jump street.
Off what you're saying, Chase, like the internal battle that you have with yourself for someone who is defecting, like Naya, just like Lonnie in last season with Luthen, like how emotionally drained he was.
Yeah.
Because he was like, okay, well, I have children, I have this, I want to be a part of this, but I don't want to get too involved. There comes a point in time where you have to either devote yourself entirely or just do not be involved at all. And that's the key thing with what Naya's talking about here. Like, she's willing to die for this, so she's a true believer in the cause.
Yep, 100%. And I love that they showed that this is not an easy decision. That like that there's going to be, and like there's a line she has that was like, she's like, I had fun here. Like I have friends here, like, and she's looking back and it's just like, I feel bad saying it. And he's like, no, don't feel bad. Like, and I think that's important is because it's like, even if you're working for the evil empire, you're part of the tyrannical machine. Like it doesn't remove the individual agency from people. It doesn't remove like, you know, and it's little moments where like when the other inspector or the other technician comes by and, you know, they kind of have a little talk and just like, oh yeah, she thinks you're cute. Like these are, at the end of the day, they are people, you know, that work for the empire. And it's one of those things like, yeah, you have to, as an individual, make that decision. And it's, you know, it's how you make that decision, why you make that decision, and when you make that decision that really determines the outcome of this. Because, you know, we'll probably never know how or why a character like Naya even came into the Empire. And sometimes that doesn't matter. Sometimes it does because it adds context. But like, I think it's very important that like they are showing the difficulties and struggles and the humanity of the Empire in some of these scenes.
But yeah, like getting in more into like the chase stuff, like I really enjoyed how they played it for comedy. Like this entire like the going from like how we were covering the show, going from like the final arc in Ferrex to this is like hilarious because it's like Cassian has built himself up as like this like badass know-it-all, like who can like really almost do anything, and when he climbs in the ship and doesn't know anything about flying, and it's like the funniest scene because and like even Diego Luna's talked about that publicly where he's like, I loved shooting that as comedy and like being like, oh shit, and like crashing into stuff and like the playing that kind of up of it. Like that's really what I enjoyed.
It was like that the way that Avenger sounds. And by the way, pretty sure that's Death Star technology for the green spot of the laser that shoots.
We don't know. It's possible. I think that's a Magpulse charge. I didn't talk about it in the video, but I think that's a Magpulse charge.
Yeah,
that's what the First Order ends up using.
The TIE silencer.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. We don't know. I'm sure they'll give us like either in a visual dictionary or something like that, something along those. That's what I don't think. I think. I don't think we're far enough along to be doing that. I think that's what the arc going into Rise of Skywalker covers is the miniaturization and the efficiency of that technology. I think it's way too early to do it for a TIE fighter right now.
Because you even have the line in Last Jedi about it where they're like, miniaturized like Death Star attack when they're attacking on Crate.
Yeah. So yeah, like it's a cool ship. It really is, and everything that it has, and the attention to detail that they have, like from like the hologram, the heads-up projectors that we don't typically see on those types of ships. Yep, was really cool. Just like the drop seats, just a place to hold the helmet. Like everything was thought out in that one little set piece that's like this about as big as Diego Luna is. And I really like the attention to this, and it really goes through like the rest of the show because like there's no use of the volume in season 1. I don't think there's any use of the volume in season 2 either. This is all practical sets. This is all
practical sets and blue screen. I think still.
Yeah, there's tons of CGI. There's tons of green screen and blue screen for sure. But
we know that they shot it similar to how they shot the like sequel trilogy ship shots. Like they shot him on a gimbal essentially. They had him on like a set that just moved. However he moved it.
Yeah. But you know, like I think this is just such a cool opening shot.
It is. It's
to the show. But moving on from the TIE Avenger scene, because it is a great scene. You know, he obviously breaks out of the hangar. Yeah. Ship turns off, gets it back on. You know, has a good chase with 2 other TIEs, and then finally
nature versus nurture moment of like Star Wars of like nature overcoming the nurture of the Empire.
Which by the way, those TIEs might have been prototypes for what we see
in
the Inquisitors.
Yeah, they are
the prototypes for what the Inquisitors end up using in Rebel Season 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. I would love to see like a timeline of Scion fleet systems at some point. We'll probably never get it.
I don't know. Never say never.
It's possible.
They've literally grabbed
I'd rather hear
two
about Bactoid Fleet Ordnance. Yeah.
radical. Well, I
Sorry.
mean the
You need the history of the Gaper Bingzoids.
Oh, dude,
Oh,
the Tri
jeez.
Fighters. Oh yeah.
I mean, they mentioned that the species from Legends that was
The
mentioned in season
Ricardan.
1,
They brought up the
the
Ricardan.
Ricardan, and
Yeah,
we'll
Ricardan.
get more into that. We'll get more into that. But
Did you just say Ricarded?
what? No, I said Ricardan. Did
It's
I?
the Rica. It sounded like you said Ricarded, and it's the
Oh,
Ricotta.
Oh well. All right. I will see you guys later. We just got
Well, but Luke, you have been voted off the island.
No.
Out.
Can't replace me.
Anyways,
I'm irreplaceable. Anyway, you know what I mean.
so going through episode 1. I don't want to give it a play-by-play, but like we do meet we get a check-in with every single important character, and one of the first ones after this we get is Bix, Brasso, and Will, and they are on not Dantooine, not Lothal, but an original Mineral, an original planet. We'll obviously get really, really deep into everything that's going on in Mineral. It was great to see that like they are alive, they are well, they are in hiding from the Empire after Ferrix. Brasso has a new Boothang named Talia. And Will also has a new little crush, which is very cute. And the first thing we see is Bix still has like tons of PTSD from what happened in season 1. She's still having nightmares about the torture that she went through. But they're all working, kind of the same stuff that they were doing, just in a different capacity. And we're starting to get a little bit more insight as to how things are going on. They are still trying to get in contact with Cassie, and they haven't heard from him. And they are also in contact with Luthen. So it's time. A year has passed, and I love these little moments, and just like the little hiding in the grassy plains, trying to sneak away with some smooches, and just the way that Talia and Brasso kind of like look at each other and stuff like that. But yeah, like it's great to see them, and I love the character development that everyone here is getting, and that we have like this cast to follow. And then
you also need to mention Kellen, the old guy that they're with too.
Yeah.
That eventually we'll get to there, but yeah, him too.
I liked Kellen, and I'm very curious if like was it a plan all along,
I will get to it when we get to it.
Yeah. But I like that. I like that they're helping each other, and they're giving each other, all sorts of help and all of this. Like I love the communal aspect of this. That we've seen moisture farmers in Star Wars, but we haven't seen like farmers. Like these hovering grain silos are really interesting.
I do love the joke back to Rogue One, the callback of like the It's a Simple Life type reference in this episode of like when they're talking about farming. I was like, I see what you did there, Tony. I see you connecting this back to Rogue One, you sly bastard.
Yeah, like it's also like I like the stark contrast of like the whites and blues of the tie scene to this like very natural earthy browns, yellows, and like light blues, like almost teals, that we kind of get in these next scenes. And it's just this huge contrast that I really like, just like from a shot perspective, to kind of like the coldness of the Empire to the warmth of the rebellion. So I really liked like how that was shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, because also and then eventually, so we have that to start, and then we get to the whole Mon Mothma sequence. So at the end of season 1, obviously there was a planned marriage between Mon Mothma's daughter with someone who, well, obviously with the arrangement that she made with him for financial reasons, of course. She needs money to
Fund
fund
the
something.
rebellion.
Yes, to fund the rebellion, essentially, but to fund something, to put it simply. But so now we're getting all the setup. We're getting all the people coming in. We see Luthen. We see Vel. We eventually see Cinta. And then we have Tay Kolma, which Tay Kolma plays such a vital role in this whole entire arc. And with him, from one side, he's Mon Mothma's, closest like confidant. And the next thing you know, you have, Perrin, who's telling her, he was drunk, all night, and he's, doing this and that, and bad mouthing him. And then Luthen needs something from him too. Like, there's a lot of stuff that's happening between this circle of people, and I'll let you guys continue off of what I'm saying. But with the whole this is like Mon Mothma's arc, and like there's a lot of like great moments. This was Mon Mothma's arc. But Chase, Hereth, if you wouldn't mind like going in and talking about what was your favorite like Mon Mothma moment in these 3 episodes.
My favorite Mon Mothma moment, one of them was it's not like even like a big line of dialogue. It is when, and I might be wrong, I think this is one shot, when she comes out to the balcony, eyes go wide, and she starts walking down this maze of Chandrillian like architecture, and she's getting interrupted by person after person after person after person, and you're like, it's gonna be Luthen, it's gonna be Luthen. And she's like, she has like conversations, and she like, the eyes never leave straight ahead, and then obviously it's Luthen and Clea there. I loved that whole sequence of her just that mask comes on and off and on and off during this whole sequence. That was one of my favorite parts.
Yeah, like, ooh, okay. You touched on it briefly, but I love how Perrin is the one that points out to Mon that Tay is the one, like he thinks they're having an affair, and like that's what's really going on, like why Tay is so on edge during these episodes. But I love how he's the one that picks up on it and not Mon, because it's like it makes it more heartbreaking, because Mon's like, there's no way it can be him. There's no way. Like, there's no way that he's gonna be the one that like they could do something like this. So it's like I love how he's the one that like gives her that piece where she's like, wait a minute, something's off. Like I know it's a weird moment to pick, but like that was the moment where I was like, holy shit, this arc's gonna be incredible.
Yeah, I mean, and then with everything that happened in there too, like that's just like all the setups and everything with, going in and then the wedding and what happens afterwards. There's 3 key, actually, well, technically 4. I mean, I would combine Cassian and Bix's all together, but they were separate for the, first 2 episodes. So there's Cassian, there's Bix and Brasso and Will, there's Mon Mothma, and then there's Dedra, Cyril, and Krennic. First of all, what, like, a year went by and Dedra and Cyril are a thing? Like,
yeah, it was the most surprising, shocking, but also most welcome thing. Like, yes, I love this.
Well, like, we knew from like the way that Denise was talking about it at this Andor panel that they were gonna be a thing. I wasn't expecting them to live together like right off the rip. So like when it opened in Cyril's apartment, I was like, where are we going with this? And then it pans to Dedra. I was like, what in the hell?
Yeah, because initially I had no idea what would transpire after that, because everyone remembers from, Rick's Road, those episodes prior to that, it was, Dedra seeing Cyril as this creep, this recently discharged cop, and then, saves her life in Ferrix, and then a year later they're together. I'm like, there's a lot of stuff that happens. Like, it is very welcome, and honestly, it's not that crazy of a thing to predict it would happen, but it was just such like a oh shit moment to me. Like, I didn't expect it to happen.
I liked it a lot. I especially loved the casual Dedra outfits, like Dedra with her hair down. Like, I mean, it's just one of those things. Like we have every time we've seen her, she's been in the ISB uniform or the coat, hair perfectly done, and it was so interesting to see her like that. But to touch on Dedra as well, before we get too much into Dedra and Cyril, is the scene with Krennic.
Ooh.
Yes.
And with the two with Dedra, it's just there's so many things about this scene and that I thought were really good. I thought this is like one of the first times that like Krennic felt very serious as like really embodied the director role, if that makes sense. And I loved the opening hologram of the Gorman spiders and their silk weaving, and it's like this whole the advertisement, the
Imperial propaganda.
So that's not Imperial. That's a Gorman ad. That is to incentivize trade between Gorman and other systems. And this is this is being used by the Empire to totally destroy Gorman. This is one of those things, the cruelty and sinister nature of the Empire of, okay, this is clearly one of the biggest trade hubs, at least for textiles in the galaxy right now.
But not only that, also looking for something else underneath the core of the planet. And that is good old Calcite. Which Calcite is just like another type of energy that they're mining for. And the whole Stardust project is, still going. And yeah, this is one of those planets that has resources that the Empire needs, as do many other planets across the galaxy. They're going to get mined to the core, like Ilum, which is going to just completely just foil the planet. But yeah, Chase, go ahead.
No, keep going.
Can I?
Oh no, and also Hereth, I know that you were the most excited to talk about Gorman. Obviously, we're not going to get into spoilers about what happens on Gorman because this has already been established. And
because you were in the VC when I was freaking out about timelines and figuring out if certain things line up, and I figured out they did perfectly line up.
The whole thing about Gorman will be taking place in the third arc. If we're going to be expecting 1 year goes by at a time, because the whole Gorman incident happens in 2 BBY. Goes 4 BBY the first arc, 3, 2, 1.
So the Gorman mass. So can we say it?
Yeah. No, just say Gorman. Just say Gorman.
So the Gorman situation happens in the second to last arc.
Correct.
It's by
that makes sense.
The way that the show is formatted, then yes.
So then what's the next?
So then they're gonna.
So the reason why I said this, and I'll get into. Well, I will get into this while I'll say this. I don't really mind saying this because we've been theorizing this for months. I've been theorizing this in season 1. So I was trying to figure out timeline-wise, would the Rebels episode line up with the third arc? Because remember, Tony Gore has come out and said the Gorman Massacre is going to span over 3 arcs. We know this. It's going to be over multiple arcs.
So it'll be the second to last arc.
Correct. And I was trying to figure out if the Mon Mothma FU speech would come into play.
My prediction is that the events boil over in the second to last one.
Yeah. It'll be in the second to last arc. 100%. Because I know that this next arc will be probably something to do with Luthen, with Cassian and Bix
K2
going off to a different planet. But there's gonna be a lot of stuff that's gonna happen. I don't know what's gonna happen to Tay. From what I know, I think Tay will get offed by Cinta because of all the people that would transport him. Why would they choose Cinta? Because Luthen, Vel talked to Mon Mothma or someone about Cinta, and it was like, well, she's working for Luthen, but Luthen won't tell me why. But
I feel like that was the implication.
Because
the way that
an assassin or a hitman or whatever.
Well, because the way that Luthen was talking to Mon about Tay throughout the arc was, you need to deal with this. You need to deal with this. And then like Mon's like, no, we'll talk to him in a week. We'll talk to him in a week. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. And Luthen's like, basically it'd be like, you need to kill him. We need to get the number so we can get into the account. You need to kill him. Is essentially like the what I was kind of getting from those like episodes.
Mhm.
And to kind of bring it back to that conversation with Mendelsohn, oh my god. Your supervisors will know nothing. The people that are in this, and it ties back so much to Thrawn treason, and to Catalyst, specifically when he says energy, because if you remember, Galen Erso was told when they were creating the Death Star, he thought he was working on a energy, like to make unlimited energy.
Mm-hmm.
And then to hear him say unlimited power, I was like, nice.
That was
nice,
that had me. I was like, that had me chuckling.
Nice. That had me giggling. And the fact that after that whole meeting, he goes, and never mind. I'm not going to talk about that right now. My thoughts.
And how about we talk about Cyril's mommy issues?
Holy
Oh my
shit.
god.
That dinner was the definition of holy fuck. Like, honestly, if Alanis ever did that to my mother, I'd be like, you know what? That's crazy. That's crazy.
And I love
But-
I love Deidre's stance towards it is. Yeah.
No, but
But do we think that do you think that this relationship is real? Or do we think it's I'm using you and you are using me type of issue?
I hope it's not that.
Agreed.
I really hope that like
Yeah.
I really hope that like they actually found something, and I hope that we can get a good story out of this as well. I'm sure we will. I have all the faith in the world we will. This could also, this leads me to believe that this could be like a Lost Stars type of story, possibly, where one of them goes towards the rebellion, one of them goes towards the Empire. Or both of them go towards the rebellion,
or both of them just
stay in the Empire.
I
don't see.
I could see Dedra flipping based on her reaction to Gorman.
What's interesting about that too is that she doesn't even want to be involved with Gorman.
She doesn't.
Yeah,
but here's the thing. But here's the
ahead,
thing. Dedra is the one that recommends what's probably going to cause the Gorman massacre to kick off, because she's like, we need to have like a rebel cell on Gorman so we can have probable cause. Remember, because she's the one that pitches that.
Right, she pitches it to Krennic, but like she doesn't want anything to do with this project.
Oh, and Chimere in not Chimere.
She's being a dutiful Imperial. So, and this is because he says to her, she's like, it's like you're very easy to read. You stop pretending like you're so hard to read when you're not hard to read at all. Like I really like that whole sequence, and like one thing we haven't even talked about is like that set design is based off of Hitler's Eagle's Nest, the secret meeting place. And I could be totally wrong. How I interpreted that whole thing is that Dedra is Imperial through and through. I do see that there is probably a breaking point. I think that, especially with the trailer, with her choking and stuff like that, I think there is a possibility that she will have that threshold, and she will go through that threshold, and it will be too much. And her first gut instinct will not be to join the rebellion. It will just be to leave the Empire. And I think it will be either someone like Cyril or someone like Cassian or potentially Luthen when she finally meets Axis in real life.
Oh, that would be interesting.
Is the one that
the exact
brings
same cause that she's fighting against.
Mm-hmm. I think the Empire is going to cross a line for her. And again, I don't think she's going to be like, well, the Empire's not it for me. I have to go to the rebellion. I don't think that's how she works.
No, because she sees them for what she thinks they are.
Yeah,
she
not everyone needs to defect.
Like,
they can leave.
I agree 100%. That's why I'm saying that Cyril. I think the opposite. I think Cyril being in love with Deidre,
he will follow like a obedient puppy dog.
He is a puppy dog.
Oh, he is.
But
got no backbone.
But the thing is, like, Deidre sticks up for him. Like, Dedra knows, like, he's some fucking problems, and he takes it up with his mom. Like, she knows that his mother is quite problematic and annoying, and can get under Cyril's skin a lot. Like the amount of times that Cyril got up from his chair and left to go lay down in the bed.
Though the shots of him in the bed were sending me. Like him like laying like a sad little boy.
Face down.
Yes.
He was doing like a whole like Peter Griffin laying on the floor.
That it's like, oh my god. Like, Cyril, you're so relatable in that moment.
No, the dinner scene was one of my favorite things, like, of season 2 so far. Is that was so insanely good. Yeah, I think something is going to, and I think we have two things. We have Gorman, and we obviously have the inevitability of the Death Star. And if she's privy enough to know about Gorman, she's going to be privy enough to know about the Death Star.
Yeah.
That is the team that will be stationed on the Death Star. I think she will get a job opportunity to be stationed on the Death Star, and I think she will decline it. And that may be why she gets choked out.
I disagree. I am team Dedra dies on the Death Star in A New Hope. I think Dedra is just going to stay loyal. I don't see Dedra quitting. I see Dedra as, if we're going all in on like this whole like Cyril being a puppy dog,
it's not a crazy theory.
I see Dedra just staying the same. I think she is the antagonist for this show. She is big bad.
So then here's the true irony. When Krennic says those that have breaches will be dealt with the Emperor personally, I said, how fucking ironic is it? Because you are the one that has the person that likes to talk the most. And it was just so satisfying to see him say that and then be like, so getting choked out by Vader, huh? Is that like something that you're into or what? But I found that so ironic as hell. But no, the first episode, second episode, like the second episode is one that hits. Everybody wants to talk about episode 3, but I feel like episode 2 is where we really start getting into the real world issues.
Yeah.
Where Bix and Brasso and can't remember the Wilmon?
Yeah.
But Will all are on well, did we talk about what did you guys talk about Bix in episode 1? Did we touch on
briefly?
Yeah,
very
briefly.
Briefly did. Okay,
we didn't really dive into the Empire.
What did we not dive in?
Visas and yeah, we didn't go into that.
What didn't we talk from episode 1? I just want to make sure.
We covered most things.
We didn't talk about the Cassian landing on.
We briefly covered Mina Rao. We covered Cassian, Mon Mothma, and Dedra, Cyril, and Orson Krennic.
So we're good on moving to episode 2. Is that okay?
Well, yeah. I mean, we've been talking about like things in general, but if you want to like dive into like episode 2,
well, I mean, episode 2, we
didn't into the Empire on Mina Rao yet.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's a major part of episode 2 and 3. So if you want to kick it off,
episode 2, they definitely like. When I mean we're talking real world issues here, we're talking about things that are happening now in our country.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I put this in a tweet. If you feel uncomfortable when seeing certain things, there might be a reason why you feel that way.
It's almost like that's the point.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I think the whole checking of the visas and the Empire occupying, and they'd said like the last time they had actually done something like this was about 10 years ago, and they kind of start doing this at random. They start doing the checks at random and going there, and they have people kind of figuring out, oh yeah, well, they're coming to this block first, and then that block, and then this one. And it's one of those things like I really like how they handled a lot of this stuff, and how this is one of the things that I think Andor is doing really well. And that is one of the main inspirations for the Empire. Obviously the story largely revolves around, the Vietnam War, but they're largely influenced by like Nazi Germany. And this whole sequence on Mineral is very reminiscent to SS inspections.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
The first interaction with Bix and the Imperial officer is very uncomfortable. And we'll get to obviously a lot of that stuff later towards the end. But this is very much, even when you get into when they go into kind of that first little grain shop and have the conversation, and Brasso's there, and he's just not even making eye contact. And this very much felt like one of those instances. And if you've seen movies like The Pianist, Schindler's List, and stuff like that,
Inglourious Bastards does like the whole first part of like the first scene is the SS coming in and snuffing out the Jews. Yeah, it's crazy.
And it's one of those things, like there's definitely a lot of parallels to that. And I think that this is the Empire that Tony Gilroy has wanted to focus on more, is the comparisons to Germany versus comparisons towards America and Vietnam. Obviously the stuff with the visas hits really hard today. And when it's like later in the final episode of the arc, he says like, I know you're illegal, and like that hits hard today. But like I think the imagery, and I think the way that they are dressed, and the one thing I really do like about their outfits is obviously we kind of saw this on Ferrix as well, but everyone here on Mina Rao, they all dress individually. And there's function to their outfits and stuff like that. And it matches the earthy tones of Mina Rao. And then when the Empire comes, all the characters, they stand out from their environment, but the Empire does not blend into the environment. They are the ones that are out of place with their whites, grays, and blacks. And so I really love the imagery that they used there to make it so that the Empire does not belong here. Like, even just from a visual perspective, they don't belong.
And Chase, you actually made a really good point that made me think about what we talked about earlier with Kellen, because how you were talking about how the Imperial officer told the Bix, like, I know you're illegal. How does he know that, though? I'm thinking with what happens eventually is that Kellen is offered a reward for potentially harboring fugitives, and that's how the message was relayed amongst everyone within the core.
And they come earlier and stuff like that. So I think it's possible. I also think that there was a handshake deal with Kellen and Brasso to make it look like they were selling each other out so that they could start the attack.
That was my interpretation of the scene, because it kind of seemed like they were kind of leading the Empire on, so Brasso and them could just take them out. Yeah,
I think this is when I'd want to wait and see, because I don't want to because I liked Kellen. I don't want to throw him under the bus just yet. I'm not afraid to, but I don't want to do it just yet. I don't want to pull the trigger on him yet.
I feel like, I guess, like with the whole Tay betrayal, I think I'm believing Kellen to not be. I think Kellen was the red herring in this arc, where he's like, oh, you think he's the person that's going to sell everyone out? No, it's actually Tay. in the Mon Mothma part of the story.
Oh yeah.
Like that's how I saw. I agree with Chase. That was my interpretation of that scene.
It's possible it could unravel like that, but that's something we really haven't touched on was the wedding.
Oh yeah, that wedding goes fucking hard.
I love the 3-day preparation here.
Yeah.
And
AKA the 3 days, the 3 episodes that are available.
Yeah, one of the 2 of my favorite moments of the wedding were 2 moments with Mon and Leda. First one was the end of episode 1 when she hears that Leda's crying and she's there and she's like collapsed on the ground and her dress is everywhere. And like Mon just goes, and there's no dialogue. And it's just a great moment. And then there's the moment on the day of the wedding. When she's getting ready and just that moment of like Mon is ready to throw everything away for her daughter in that one moment. And it's just, it's heartbreaking. And Leda was like, I wish you were drunk. Like, because like in season 1, we saw that she was like getting into the culture is like the very, very conservative culture of Chandrila. And she wants to go through with this because she does like this stuff. And, she's scared. And I love that moment with Mon and Leda so much. And the one thing I will say about season 1 or episode 1 that I noticed immediately was when Leda shows her friends the dress hanging up.
Oh yeah.
And the veil looks like a cage around the dress.
Oh. Wow.
Didn't
even notice that. Gonna definitely have to rewatch that now.
If you look at it, it's a beautiful dress, and like I read somewhere that the dress took like 6 months to make. Like,
I'm not surprised.
If we find out the costuming of like the $300 million budget of season 2 just went to the wedding costumes, I would be like, I get it. It was incredible. Everyone looked so fabulous.
This better win an Emmy for costume design already.
Oh my god!
Costume design, writing. Oh yeah, I mean, parents' speech was.
I loved his speech. His speech.
His speech was very off-putting because we all are so used to him being the fucking weirdo gambling piece of shit. It's different with him and Leda for sure.
Here's the thing from season 1. There was no way you could have ever convinced me that he did not love his daughter in season 1.
Absolutely not.
He may not love Mon. He loves Leda.
Absolutely.
And here's the thing about Perrin for me with that speech is that this was an arranged marriage.
Absolutely.
Perrin did not arrange this marriage. Perrin doesn't want to be there just as much as Mon doesn't want to be there. And Mon is dealing with it in her way, and Perrin is dealing with it in his way. And you can agree and disagree on who's handling it better. I think a majority of people will say Mon Mothma, but you start to feel for Perrin and the speech that he gives, and he's telling the speech. He's giving the speech because of his experience with this, and that like yes, this is going to be dark. It's going to be hard. You are going to have lonely nights, but there will also be joy, and you need to seek that joy and find it because it's the only thing that's going to keep you two together and keep yourself, sustained. And I loved his speech, and I loved the way that Mon looked at him, knowing that like as much as she doesn't love this man and that she doesn't like have the feelings that Bail and Brea have for each other, or that Padme and Anakin had for each other, or Han and Leia had, whatever, there's something about him that she stuck with it despite tradition, and that she had a kid with him, and they both love their daughter, and that she can still find these moments and she can still have some semblance of, I may not have married the best man, but I married a good man. And I think that is an awesome moment of this show.
Right, and like Emma says, like Perrin is growing on me. Like I absolutely agree with that. Like to me, it's like
that's exactly how I was. It's exactly
like the first season, like Perrin, I'm like, oh yeah, fuck Perrin, he's a piece of shit. But like this season, I'm like, okay, like Perrin is still a piece of shit, but it's like you know a Perrin, like you've met a Perrin before in your life of like the person that is there in a relationship doesn't really love the person, but is really just there for their kids. Like we've all encountered like a Perrin type in our life.
He's there for the kids. He's there for Leda. He's there for money, and he's obviously not there during the rebellion. So the kid's going away, and the money is getting ready to go away too. Mm-hmm. So like he's going to be gone. You know, how do we know how? We'll probably find out. But no, like I don't believe that Perrin is like necessarily a good person, but he's also not bad. He's not evil. He's in a situation he doesn't want to be in, and he's handling it in a way that works for him.
Right.
So, but I had heard when at Celebration they had said that, you know, they had asked about the monologues, and they said that Perrin had a monologue, and I was like, oh, it's going to be in the wedding. And I was not expecting the monologue we got, and I was like, this was so good. It puts so many things into perspective. It showed love for like an
Jace.
Yeah, I didn't want to, because the final chapter of Mask of Fear changes a lot of stuff between Mon and Perrin. But we don't have to get in. There's so much to get into with Andor that I don't want to drag this into Mask of Fear. The Perrin stuff was great. Like it really, really, really was. Oh, Emma, you haven't finished it.
Yeah.
The end of that book changes everything.
The ending of the book is pretty fucking crazy. Anyway,
go ahead.
Like, going back to the Perrin thing, like I said earlier, like my favorite Mon moment in this episode actually is with Perrin. It's like the idea that Perrin is the one that like points out to Mon that like Tay is like not really what she thinks he is. Like the idea that obviously he thinks he's a drunken failure and that he's cheating on him with Mon and having an affair. But I really like how Perrin is the one that points everything out and like, puts everything into perspective for Mon. And Mon's now like, wait a minute, what is he on about? Like, I love how that's how they do the reveal.
And the thing is that Perrin's actually correct.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, there's like, oh yeah, you know, like for like, remember Cersei when Ned Stark was in the Red Keep? It was like, you know, Mr. Stark was, you know, Lord Stark was drunk in a brothel. Like they come up with some bullshit to make him look bad, you know?
Right.
But Perrin was actually right here because Mon went to go talk to him, and he actually, you know, he was a little bit off-putting.
Yeah, I also like that Perrin, you know, he jokingly, but also like kind of not jokingly says, "Oh yeah, your boyfriend. Did you hear about your boyfriend?" And Mon's like, "Who's my boyfriend?" And it is very much like they're in I'm going to say a mostly loveless marriage,
right?
And they are both very powerful people, and that if they wanted to go knock boots elsewhere, they could. And Perrin probably has. I won't get into Mask of Fear. We don't know that Mon has, but rumors have surfaced before. And I like that he doesn't say your boyfriend with any type of malice or like judgment. And it's like he's also saying this, like, it probably could be true that she's hooking up with Tay, and he just wants Mon to know of like. Yeah, your boyfriend got fucking plastered and had to be carried out. And it's just like he's looking out for his wife. Like, doesn't matter what his wife is doing, he is looking out for her and make sure she knows that like her friends are fucking shit up at the wedding. At their daughter's wedding. And I like that interaction a lot. So yeah. I don't trust Perrin.
Yeah.
We'll see how he turns out.
Also, have to shift gears in like the Mon stuff, but like there is one like obviously we talked about it a little bit earlier, but like, we haven't really gotten into like the Luthen angle of it all. Like I love how like in the beginning, first episode, and a little bit of the second one, we're like, what is Luthen really like? What is he playing at here? Like, what is like his true intentions are? And I love how they use that as tension. And then even when he gives the gift, you're like, oh, this is what Luthen is kind of playing at here. At the end of like just kind of like really trying to get under Tay's skin and like figure out what his game is, and then trying to play it up as like obviously he's playing the role of like, oh, I'm the art seller, look at me, I'm big Luthen, like still playing in like his mask a little bit. But I love how Luthen is portrayed in these episodes, and like we get more like Kay in these episodes too because of that. Because now we get like what's going on with her and like how she's trying to like get away, and Luthen's constantly bugging her about like, well, what's going on with Cassie? What's going on with Cassie? And she's like, bro, we don't have enough secure data. I can't send out a signal because it will blow our lead. Like I love the Luthen stuff in this arc too. It's just as good as the Mon stuff as well.
Give me a number.
I want the number. What's the number?
I want that number.
Yeah, I just love how insistent he is, and just how wormy he is. He's very slimy, and I kind of love it. That he has 100% weaseled his way into this wedding. Like he dropped those hints like, I could find you some Chandrilan history to bring to the wedding. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Let me hand deliver it for you, buddy.
Oh yeah, going to the number thing, like Bale and I were talking about this in the VC. I thought the number is referring to what's the number of the bank account so we can get our money back. Is that what they were referring to, you guys? Like, was your interpretation of like we need the number? Like,
oh yeah, I think it's just the amount of credits that are being transferred around. I think that's all that they're talking about, right? It's just the money.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I thought
it's
like
they're talking about financials for like.
Yeah, I don't think there's
most of the
anything
first season.
besides the money that this is.
Well, I thought it more as like we want the number so we can get into the account and steal our money back. More than like how much money is he transferring back and forth?
Well, I think they want to know. I think that Luthen wants to know how much money is being tossed around, so he knows that he's not being shorthanded, that Saw's not being shorthanded, that everyone is, that no one is taking a cut more than they should, and that he wants to have all the information
from like Bale. Like I think it's the number like how much is like you're worth like to shut up.
Mm-hmm.
Like I saw that be floating around as well. So like there's multiple angles to like get at it.
Yeah,
he needs to be paid off, so they want to know what the net number is. Otherwise, he can keep coming back. But coming back to what?
Yeah, I think Luthen needs to be in control of all situations at all times. So he needs to know exactly where everything is, how much is going where, everything. He needs to be, I think he views himself almost as a mastermind of the rebellion, and he wants to know everything for as long as he can.
Which is funny because like that's how honestly Dedrick could get on top of this thing. It's just being like, I know this thing, like this secret energy project, I'm in the ISB, and then just get him in a corner and shoot him in the head.
Which honestly is probably what's going to be happening after the first 3 episodes with the ending of the third. Yeah, probably.
Yeah. The one thing we haven't talked about
there's actually 2 things. There's 2 things. Well,
yeah.
We can make it concise. Then we can go into, what I think you're talking about. Well,
I'm talking about
the Cassian forced warfare.
Yes.
Like, own group mutiny. like
this small mutiny. Rebel cell that is at civil war with each other on this very strange, mysterious forest planet.
We have the broken ship.
Right, like I saw them as because I was thinking these are the New Republican Saw was talking about in season 1. Like this is this rebel cell. Like by the way,
they are a rebel cell for sure, but they are this ragtag group. And even the first time we even see them, they're like, "We've got 15 guns on you. Don't tell him how many." It's a very Monty Python moment of "Don't tell him how many there are. What does it matter how much we tell him?" So I loved that aspect, and they kind of take Cassian hostage, and they're trying to start the tie of Endor, and they can't, and then they all turn on each other, and I really like this like civil war, guerrilla warfare versus guerrilla warfare.
Yeah.
Crab.
Crab just screwed it all up.
And then you have Cassian in the middle.
I love the names of some of these characters. There was Crab. There was also Plug.
Yeah.
What were the other ones? What was the other guy? His name started with a G. And then who was their leader that was missing? Started with an M.
I can't remember. I'd have to go back and watch it again.
Yeah.
But no, like it was.
Plug.
I loved this little group because just how disorganized they were from the get-go. And how like Cassian saw how easy it was to just kind of manipulate them and was just waiting for the perfect opportunity. And finally it just, opportunity shows itself. But yeah, I love that like they just weren't trusting of anything that he was saying, and they just kept bickering until they reached that boiling point where they shoot the one woman who could be the pilot, and then they just all split off, and then it's just huge like
I love how
holdout.
it all starts because of food. Like they're arguing over like eating moldy food, and then the other side's like eating this really disgusting melon, like bug infected food. You're just like, oh, this is
We ain't eating nothing but the maggot bread for 3 stinking days. Why can't we have some meat?
And on top of that, they have these huge beasts that are like stalking the night forest.
Yeah.
Like Rhino had like sex with a dinosaur. It's like, oh, like they're so disgusting.
It was like a Raptor Rhino that moved at Mach speed. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, like this was a very. What's so interesting is like I feel like all of the moments with Cassian have been a little bit lighthearted thus far, except for the end of this arc. Like the stuff in the TIE Fighter was very lighthearted. And then the stuff on the forest planet of mystery that hasn't been revealed just yet was really cool because like they're all a little goofy in their own right, and he's just like stuck in the middle and just like, I could just fly you guys out of here, maybe. And he's like, I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm not an Imperial pilot. I stole this thing. It's like, well, we don't believe you. And it's like, I don't know what to tell you.
Like, I know everyone in the chat's comparing it to like Monty Python. To me, like, Chase, you wouldn't get this parallel, but to me, it was like they were very much given like the Ravengers vibes and like the Guardians, where it's like obviously in Guardians we have like Yondu who's like basically holding everything together, but like in this case we don't have a Yondu, so they're all just like bickering and fighting with each other like little pirates.
No, that's what happens when you're leaderless. You have no idea what's going on. You have no idea where to go, how to like hold the team together. Like they all just bonked heads, and then next thing you know, they're at war with each other over a ship that Cassian stole. Like,
right? It's like they're all bottom feeders. Like, and like I forget who said this on Star Wars TikTok, and I forget who it is, and I would give you credit if I could. But the person was like, "This is beautiful because it represents like the rebellion is not all just like these giant smart leaders." Because our representation of like the Rebel Alliance in Star Wars media is like, oh, but he's like the super smart person. This is the very tactical person. This is that. We've never had just normal, boring like grunts in Star Wars, like where like you said, like Chase said, like guerrilla war fighters. Like we really hadn't had that outside of Rogue One. And even in Rogue One, they didn't get really much of attention. They were just like, oh yeah, here's Cassian's group.
Yeah, but they were all competent soldiers. They were all like
just very skilled foot soldiers. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is like people who like don't really know what they're doing, and I know we're going to get more of them. Like they're not just going to leave them there. Like we're going to see more.
But right, you need that in an army. You need those type of soldiers.
Yeah, and I really like that. I really liked that whole little subplot that was going on. Like that was just a really, really cool touch. Like I did notice, I think it was, who was it that I saw? I was like, man, okay, this is 3. It was the main blonde guy of the little rebel group with the man bun and the long hair.
Yeah, it was like I know Grevis. I think his name was Grevis.
Yeah. And then they like switched to the wedding, and then you had Perrin, who had like the same haircut but cleaner. And then I remember seeing another person somewhere that had the same haircut, just in a different color, and I was like, this is the Andor haircut, the long disheveled man bun.
Like this?
Kinda, yeah, kinda.
Okay.
You gotta let the back come down a little bit, like in a curtain, and then still have the man bun. But yeah, that's
where it's just all just filthy and everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, any other thoughts about like the Civil War before we get into?
No, it's a very simple subplot, but I think it really, really works really well.
But it's necessary
tone
wise.
Cassian kind of like be out of the mix for a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like I was saying, like it's necessary tone wise because you have these two very, very dark storylines going on. Obviously, the Dead Dracero stuff is twisted and dark. It has a little bit of comedy in there with the whole like his aspect with his mother and that kind of stuff. But like if you really think about it, you have like these 3 super dark, twisted arcs. You need that kind of comedy to like elevate and like light the tension a little bit between Mon and Bix. You need that comedy. So it's I feel like it's very needed like light relief in this arc.
It plays well. I was just like this. Like when I first watched it, I was like, wow, this doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, but like I get it why they're doing it, and it works. It works. And I love it. I think it's hilarious. I think and the fact that they are on Yavin 4, it's like, hey, jackass, just stay there.
Spoilers.
Is it wrong that I didn't pick up they were on Yavin when I first watched it and I saw it on social media? I was like, oh yeah, that was Yavin.
Yeah, you saw
that was pretty obvious when Cassian took off.
Well, when Atlantis, like, I didn't really necessarily think that either, Harris. So don't feel that.
Yeah, I couldn't see the Masasi.
I couldn't see the Masasi temples.
No.
Yeah, they were the temples were there. They just weren't.
They were so prominent.
But
and also
I didn't catch that. I wouldn't have caught it
like,
if Atlantis didn't say anything. So
that's for
I
you
was
to
like,
say.
oh wow. Yeah, it's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Disappointed.
But yeah, Chase, do we I think is it time to touch base with this part of the arc?
The final part?
The 3rd episode?
Yes. The 3rd
episode. Yeah.
With a specific character going through some things. Yeah, Chase, go ahead and kick us off.
Yeah, I think before we touch on that, I think that the way that the final episode from the wedding to Cassian making his way back to what happens on Mina Rao. This is, I'm going to say this because I think this is why the 3 arc premiere works so well, is because if we have Act 1, Act 2, Act 3 for every arc, if we can keep up this type of pace, or at least similar tonal moves and stuff like that, I'm going to be really satisfied with how this show kind of plays out, because the final episode of this works so insanely well because of the tension that's been building in the past 2 episodes, and then everything coming to a head, and you have what is happening on Mina Rao and what is happening on Chandrilla. You have a joyous occasion, you have a raucous party, and then you have essentially a ground war breaking out, and just clicking back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. It's edited so well, and you're when something's about to happen, you get pulled back into the wedding, and then everything's going on and crazy, and boom,
I can talk
right
for
back
hours
into
editing in this episode. Holy shit!
But what Charlie's talking about is one of the things we see in this episode is I'm going to say this. I'm going to just put it out there. Like, this is like the most adult Star Wars has ever been in its content. And don't want to linger on it too much because I know like a lot of people will have reacted, will react, and should react differently to this. The Imperial officers do come back, and the Imperial officer that was kind of like flirting with Bix comes back and tries to sexually assault her. Fails, gets fucking cranked over the head with a hammer multiple times. Good for him. And yeah, like this is one of those things that I think that there's going to be a lot of discussions around it. There already has been stupid discussions brought up by creators about this. And I don't want to focus on that. I want to focus on the impact this scene has for the viewer and the impact this scene has for Star Wars as a whole. Because this year alone, I was saying I don't think Star Wars is ever going to get out of its young adult bubble. And I think Andor is ready to
break the mold.
Yes.
Kids' clubs are off.
Yeah.
Yes, this is a like even most of Andor 1, I would say like if your kid wants to watch Andor, like I don't see too much of a problem with it. Like believe it or not, they use bad language in Star Wars, and most parents folks are like, yeah, they use bad language on TikTok. The fact that Bix even says the word rape in this episode is, I was like shocked, like on so many levels. I was shocked that this scene happened. The scene is super impactful, super heartbreaking, uncomfortable to watch, obviously on purpose. And yeah, 100% agree with Emma because of this. And it's not that I think this takes away from the show. I think it adds to the show. This show is not for kids. Like for the first time in 50 years, we have something Star Wars that is not TVMA. For kids. Like I don't even throw ratings at it. Just like this is not for kids. And I think that, and I'm going to say this, not that I think that it has to be sexual assault, but I think that so many people who are very immature believe that maturity comes from like heads getting cut off and like intestines falling out. And it's just like, that's what I want out of mature Star Wars. I'm like, that's not mature. Like mature is complex themes. Mature is dealing with hard and traumatic issues and the fallout of those things. And I really like the fact that they did go with something like this to break the mold of the maturity of Star Wars. And it was wild to watch. Like I was like, holy shit. Like they went there. I'm glad they went there. Your heart breaks for Bix every second it's going along. You cheer for Bix when she grabs that hammer and he's just stumbling because he just got clocked. So yeah, like I mean, I don't know if you guys have anything about it you want to say, or
like building on what you said. Like I thought at most in episode 2, like before we get into episode 3, I thought it was gonna be very much implied. I thought it was gonna be very like with the flirt scene. I thought they were gonna leave it there and like maybe like he would approach and then like Brasso would kill him or something like that. I didn't think they would take it as far as they did, and juxtapose that with what's going on in Mon stuff in episode 3. It's just like some of the most insane Star Wars. Like I said, like when you were talking, like I said, kids' gloves are off. It's literally the first time where I'm like, okay, Star Wars is just getting straight to the point and telling you what it is and just not fucking around with it at all in the slightest. So I was shocked. I was horrified. I was disgusted, like all the feelings. And I think they will have a content warning on that episode, kind of like how they didn't have one on the Disney Plus version of the Obi-Wan Kenobi opening Order 66. Because ironically,
they did go back and edit it. Yeah,
but
that and I can't believe I remember this. There was a school shooting, like that day or like hours before the premiere.
It was hours before because I remember talking about it at Star Wars Celebration 22. I remember that tragically.
Hours before that, and then they aired that. That was crazy. But this is a hard scene to watch.
Mhm.
People can get uncomfortable for every reason, and most of it's valid. And it's a tough subject for us to talk about because yeah, it's
And
just yeah.
yeah, my stance on this like this scene particularly is it's
Agreed.
very important to tell the fans that the Empire thinks that they can get away with anything. They can do whatever they
Yeah.
want without any repercussions, and that's that. They've committed genocide. They've put whole entire races and people into slavery. Like they do
Mhm.
some heinous and awful things, and there's no like response to anyone about it because they're all the way up here and there's no one to challenge them. And this is supposed to show that the Empire thinks they're invincible, but they're not. They're not.
Yeah.
And we're going to see that very, very, very soon.
Yeah, I think it's important to realize that the Empire started with the extermination of 10,000 people without any chance of due process. That is the foundation of the Empire. That is the opening act of the Galactic Empire. For people who for years have tried to justify the Empire, and look, I get that it's a fictional universe and, it's like Alderaan's not a real place, blah, blah, blah. But like, it's all based on like regimes and governments that have existed in the past. And like, this is one of those things that like, I think that when you look at something like Alderaan, you look at something like Jeddah, you look at stuff like Geonosis, it's like, it's so hard to comprehend what's happening to a billion, a million, a trillion people. But when it's happening to one person so like immediately, it really puts into perspective and just scope how evil and rotten the Empire is. And I'll say this, like, yeah, when in the second episode, when he comes up to her and the grandson, I was like,
yeah,
if he comes back, how are they going to how are they going to handle? I wasn't like, is it going to, I was like, how are they going to handle it? Cause he's going to come back. Like, this is clearly not the end. And I was like, I didn't expect it to go as far as it did. And like, it was like I said, it was wild to watch. And it's so heartbreaking because it's Bix, because Bix has been through the ringer with the Empire, unlike anyone else in the cast.
Yeah. Especially with like the opening scene in the first episode of like her like having nightmares of getting tortured. It's like, Jesus Christ. Tony,
and there's as hard of a scene it is, there's also like the imagery, because you see the doctor go by in the mirror in the first episode, and then you see the officer stop in front of the same mirror to fix his hair. And it's like the monster is back for her. Like her dreams aren't just dreams anymore. They're still a reality. Like the Empire is still there. So the way the way that the scene was shot was like, it was really well done. It was like artistically well done. And like, you're glad to see that, Bix, gets her revenge on it, and, doesn't even try to negotiate with the other guy, just like blasts him. Like, no one in the Empire deserves a second chance.
Absolutely.
And like I don't want to get like too much into like the way that like when Bix comes out and like declares like he raped me, and then the officer doesn't even believe her, is kind of like, obviously it's very in line for the Empire, but it's just like,
sure,
like, there's another level of like, Jesus Christ, this episode is just like,
it's
he just says he's dead.
Yeah,
they handled that so I think as well as they could,
but
in that type of situation.
But yeah, it's just one of those things that like, I'm impressed that they're willing to do this. I think this opens the door for more avenues for Star Wars. I'm glad they did that. I'm glad they handled this and they didn't cater to certain fans and stuff like that and be like, oh, you want to see his blood and guts for mature Star Wars? There you go. like these are complex themes. These are hard to talk about things. These are things that aren't just like, oh, look at how cool the violence is. It's like, oh, sometimes violence isn't cool. Sometimes violence is hard to deal with. So like I like this, and what I think is interesting about this, again, is it's just like the hurt of Bix never ends, and she deserves her day in the sun.
I hope she survives.
She has to survive. Like, I think it will be in very poor taste if she does not survive.
Oh, I agree. I think you kind of, and it also, well, I mean, she lives, and then she also survives the Galactic Civil War, having to know that Cassian died.
I think this is the other heartbreaker is she escapes the situation, and by the end of it, the next thing she learns is, Cassian's coming down. She figures out it's Cassian. And then, during this whole kerfuffle with Cassian shooting at the Empire and the TIE Avenger, Brasso gets shot off of his speeder. And this was such a tough one, because like Brasso's such a good character, and they show him hugging so many people, and that was always a joke, is like, oh, Brasso probably gives the best hugs, and he's
damn it, why did we have to find out that way? No.
And because we don't see him get shot, we see him getting shot at, and then Cassian finds him, and he's just unresponsive.
I love how they did that, because as soon as I saw the Stormtrooper like aim, I knew immediately. I was like, oh yeah, Brasso's fucked. Like as soon as that shot came up with him, like even before he even shot.
Quick question: did B2 get on the ship?
No.
B2
is with.
Brasso said at the time, he goes, "Yeah, B, you're staying with Talia, or Talia, I think that's her name."
Yeah.
Talia, you're staying with Talia. We'll come and get you at some other time.
But it just breaks your heart.
Yeah, it's so hard to know, like, that going through all of that and then finding out like one of your best friends like isn't getting on the ship with you. The man who helped you get on the ship off of Ferrix and saved your life is not getting on the ship that's getting you off of Mina Route with you. It's just like I said, she better have her like day in the sunshine.
I agree 110%. She goes through some shit.
Mm-hmm.
And that was what I mentioned that one when that stream we were talking about Andor, and how I said I wanted more Bix. I wanted more and more Bix. And
we're getting more Bix.
We're starting off real strong. Yeah. We're starting off really strong with where this character is going to go, the trauma, what she's dealing with, what we're going to see her go through. Because all I know now is that she's a fucking she will do whatever it takes to protect herself, Cassian, Will, and all of her friends. She will do anything it takes.
She's going to kill so many
the
people.
hell out of an Imperial officer.
Yeah. Oh, abso-fucking-lutely, they're going to kill a whole lot of people. Are you
there's
kidding me?
There's that one scene in the trailer that I can't wait to see later on, like her and like Cassian getting into an argument and like that like shelter. I want to see that scene. I hope it's the next arc.
Yeah, we go from there and just all the stuff, but then again, we're going back and forth to the wedding, and this is where Mon is getting white girl wasted.
Oh God.
And they're playing Neamos, and like everyone's going crazy, and she's just slowly getting more and more into it. And then Luthen is just pacing the dance floor with everyone dancing. Oh my God. Like
the way he was like, yo, I know what your boy's up to. You're gonna get them numbers.
You're gonna get that number so I can do a little boom boom.
So in the trailer when we saw that, I was expecting some very traditional Chandrillan, like dum 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 dum.
They did have that a little bit. They did have that.
You had that. No, you had that when the couple danced together.
Yeah,
the traditional dance, and then the DJ droid comes out, and then they're just bumping it. I was not expecting at the traditional Chandrillan wedding that they would be just fucking going buck wild. And then when they do that, and then they go back and forth between the fight on Minarao
Oh.
to Chandrilla, just boom, 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 like
The
lockstep.
editing was
It's
on
so
point.
insane. And then it all ends with the tie Avenger taking back off, and then the car with Cinta.
Oh, I love that reveal.
And Vel sees Cinta, and Cinta sees Vel, and Vel doesn't acknowledge Cinta doesn't acknowledge Vel, and she puts Tay in the car in the thing, and he's clearly getting drunk because he bumped into someone and spilled that drink, and they don't show it, but just flying away.
Yeah, because like again, my implication was like, oh yeah, Tay's not having that meeting with Bond. He's fucking dead. Like he's 6 feet under right now.
Dead or about to be tortured incessantly.
Yeah, I would say tortured because I think he still has some
they need-
value.
They gotta get the number still.
He could be going to
It's
Saw.
Luthen. It's under Luthen. Of course he's going to do something to get it out of him.
Yeah.
For sure.
By
So-
hook or by crook, he's going to get those numbers.
Those numbers.
The numbers.
Give me some numbers.
Cassian Andor.
I need those numbers.
Tell me how a nuclear reactor works. You guys haven't seen Chernobyl.
No, I'm not. I've seen Mamma
but-
Mia.
I
Well,
thought
like-
I was gonna have to deal with the Chernobyl this week.
Not to jump to the ending, but like even though they kind of go hand in hand with like the shot of like Tay going into the ship with Cinta, but like the mirror imagery we had with this in the first arc with Bix in the ship watching Cassian take off, parallel to how that first arc ended with Cassian watching Luthen take off, cut with that flashback of Cassian as watching like that take off, and it's like the fact that we're getting this like imagery is just so it's like we know that Bix, like all this shit happened, but we're gonna get a new beginning with Bix, and it's like everything from this moment forward is gonna change, and she's gonna join the rebellion, and it's so oh god, I could talk about that for hours.
Yeah. But no, that's what an explosive banger of a first arc to start season 2 off with.
So good.
Incredible. This is
Mm.
honestly, I was expecting. My expectations were exceeded by.
Oh yeah, 100%.
You know, usually in
100%.
Star Wars, when you have expectations, you know, 90% of the time you're going to be let down. But dude, Andor every single time has always surprised me. Always.
like, I remember when the first trailer came out, we were talking about the wedding. None of us thought it was gonna be the first arc. We thought it was gonna be like the middle or third arc, not the first one off the rip.
Yeah, I always feel like these trailers only show like the first 3 episodes anyways.
Yeah.
Always the first.
Yeah, we
4
did
or
see some
5.
snippets of like the other arcs, but like
Yeah,
not much
but
of the
like
first.
bits and pieces, but like just about everything from the trailer. And like if we go back and look at all the trailers for all the Disney Plus shows, it's like the first 3 to 4 episodes typically. So
Yeah, because in the trailer we did see, you know, Greasy but you know,
yeah.
Greasy and Andor.
God, I loved the test pilot outfit. Oh my god, that thing is so cool with the red red
dude, I
shoulders.
guarantee there's gonna be someone that's gonna be making cosplays of that. Oh, that was gonna be sick.
Chase,
Chase will.
Yeah,
Chase, you
I'm
can do it,
gonna
Captain.
I'm gonna reach. I'm gonna reach out to the Washington guy who does TIE fighter stuff and see if can get something going on that. But wrap it up. Final thoughts. Season 1,
I think
arc
we're done
1.
here.
What do we call it? 1 through 3, arc 1.
The wedding
Look,
arc.
the prequel.
Phase 1 of Andor season 2.
Yeah,
What the-
phase one. Yeah, phase one. Phase one. Yes,
with the
I
what
love
the
that
fuck arc.
Chase. No, the phase arc, the phase 1 arc. I love that. I think it's been a fun continuation of the Andor Express. You know, it's unpredictable, and that's what makes it so great.
We'll call it the introduction to Gorman, and then we get to lead up to Gorman, then we get to Gorman, and then post Gorman. And that's that's how we should call it.
How about you, Hereth?
Like what? Like name wise, what do I call this arc?
No, just how do you feel about it?
Like I was joking with the name. Like it's the most shocking thing I've seen in Star Wars in a while, and
Yeah.
it's just like the amount of like places it goes. And like I said, like when we were talking about the big stuff, it's like it's like this is the first time in Star Wars where I feel like, yeah, the kid gloves are off. We're not fucking around anymore, and like we're really starting to push those boundaries. And it's like the fact that like Lucasfilm let Tony Gilroy go as far as he did. It's like it's saying how much trust they really do give to the Andor team. And I hope we start seeing that more out of Star Wars, being like, yeah, we're just gonna let them do their thing.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I was, I had high expectations for this because of what he had done with Rogue One and Andor. My expectations were exceeded. I thought this was great. I thought this was a great opening. I love this airing format. I love that, like, I love this for so many reasons. I think this is such a good middle ground because you get your week-to-week suspense, you get your binge in, and if you can't watch everything all at once, it's okay. You can just watch. You could watch an episode a day and still be a part of a conversation throughout the week while you're waiting for the next one.
Absolutely.
I think this is great. I think this is incredible marketing. I think again, I think that we'll see more shows do this. I genuinely think so.
Absolutely, as they should.
I can see Rings of Power season 3 doing this.
I think it'll work. I think that'll work for that.
I think this really works well.
It goes back to what Tony Gilroy said when they were dropping these, like in this format. The show was shot in this format. This is how you're intended to watch Andor. Yeah. So it's like them actually releasing
I think
perfect.
I think a lot of shows are shot in that format, and they don't get to air in the format they were shot in. They're either shot week to week to week to week, or they're just released all at once. Both of these work, but like clearly there is a preference on one way, and then some people have a preference towards the other. And I think again, this is the good middle ground of like we'll give people something to binge, and they can look forward to something the next week. I think this is great. I think they've nailed it. I think that the one thing I will say, and we talked about it a little bit off stream, I want everyone to remember that before we got The Empire Strikes Back, we got the holiday special. And that after Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, we got Ewoks and Caravan of Courage.
Androids.
Not androids. Yeah. And those are all fun in their own rights, and they're all goofy and bad in their own rights as well. And that, we had good books, we had bad books. We had okay books. We had some books that weren't as good as others. We had good games, bad games, and some middle games.
Karen Travis.
Yes.
Yeah.
Travis. And I think the thing is that when Andor wraps up, obviously the next thing Star Wars is going to be compared to Andor. It's inevitable.
Good luck, Ahsoka Season 2. Jesus Christ.
Ahsoka Season 2 is written by Dave Filoni. Dave Filoni does not write the same way that Tony Gilroy does.
Right. No, I'm just saying, at like a discourse level of like that's what it's Jesus Christ.
Do not. If you go into Ahsoka Season 2 expecting the same style of writing as Andor or the same editing and same filmmaking process, you are setting yourself up for disaster, and you deserve to be unhappy about that. I'm 100%. Sorry. Like, if you cannot enjoy Ahsoka for what Ahsoka is meant to be, and you cannot enjoy what comes after Ahsoka for what it is meant to be, that's your fault. Go find something else to enjoy and stop shitting on other people's parade for enjoying that. Because this is the thing that has like made me nervous since Andor Season 1 is it's just like we're not going to be able to have just regular goofy Star Wars that has its flaws left and right ever again without people being like, but Andor was so good. I'm like, yeah, Andor was so good. And like, we waited 50 fucking years for it to get this good.
Well, the show was in production for like 2.5 years. This season was filming in 2022 and 2023. Shut the fuck up, people.
Yes, Star Wars finally has something that's critically acclaimed. Let's go. Let's bash on it while we have the chance.
Yeah, and it's just like, it's like, guys, come on. Like I've seen it so much, and it's just so tiring. And it's like, let us enjoy Star Wars.
Tonight, like I want my
And it's good,
tonight,
it's
next
bad,
to
it's
Andor's.
Andor's, and it's holiday specials. Like let us just enjoy it.
So insufferable. It is so
Fucking
insufferable.
Yes.
holiday special, baby.
But like what you're describing as a whole is what makes Star Wars special. We can have our Andors and we can have like our Skeleton Crews and Book of Boba Fett. And guess what? They can coexist side by side, and they're both like Star Wars in their own respect. It's like I want the tones, I want the variety of like. No offense, this is gonna sound weird. I want the varieties and quality. I don't fucking care. Guess what? I'll watch both.
See, Book that was brought up.
Book of Boba Fett is great. Some people like it and some people don't, and those people who don't are wrong. And yeah, like it's just one of those things. It's a different style of show, and that's okay. But I've loved season 2 so far. I'm excited to see where season 2 goes. I have a feeling it's already broken our hearts multiple times. It's going to continue to do that. Yeah. It's going to be a rough ride in all the best ways, and I'm excited to see more.
Oh, like weird question before we get to the outros. Do you guys have any like predictions for like this next arc, or like what we could possibly see of like what's going to go happen?
Luthen's going to say Cassian Andor.
I think we'll see. So this is the second arc. I don't know.
Do you remember when shows had a next time on Andor?
Next time on Dragon Ball Z.
Well, they would just tell. I was like, yeah, Frieza and Goku are going to scream at each other for another 25 minutes.
Have fun trying to figure out Super Saiyan 5? What?
Well, the reason why I asked that
at the end of every Pokemon episode, as the journey continues.
Whatever happened to that? Whatever happened to just telling us what was going to happen in the next episode?
I mean, HBO still does it, but I was gonna say like the reason why I led with that is because like I feel like this next arc is gonna be the K2 arc. This is how we're gonna. This like there's no it can't be in the third or fourth. You have to get K2SO this next arc because you gotta naturally introduce it into it.
I completely forgot about K2. Thank you so much for reminding me about that. Oh, he's such a good character.
Wasn't Alan Tudyk in Japan?
Yeah.
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
I think, Genevieve, Adria K2, Tony, and Diego, and Mads were all in Japan.
Yeah, because there's the hilarious picture of Codename Fulcrum like meeting Diego Luna and Alan Tudyk, and like him and Alan Tudyk are like bouncing in the photo.
Yeah, it's hilarious. All
right. Well, Hereth.
Yes.
Where can everyone find you all over the internet?
Well, I guess people can find me all over the internet at Hereth Productions on TikTok, Instagram, and Threads. And of course, you can find me here at the Pod Ones Podcast.
Lucas Egan, where can we find you?
You can find me here at the Pod Ones every Thursday night talking about Andor. All right. Sorry, we're going to cut that out. Actually, we're not going to cut that out.
It's live.
We're not cutting anything out. It's live.
Anyway.
Charlie, you had your opportunity. Charlie Johnson, where can the beautiful, good people find you?
Oh, dang.
Good people. You can find me on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram at CharCharJ, as spelled right here. And you can find me here at the Pod Ones Podcast every Thursday talking about Andor Season 2.
You pointed the wrong direction, but I'll give it to you
did.
anyways. You could find me at Forward Into the Black.
I was pointing at the good people.
Okay, yeah, sure you were. Well, you could find me at Forward Into the Black on TikTok, Twitch, and YouTube. You can also find me on AJ at the Dork Places podcast on Wednesday mornings. And then obviously you can find me here on the Podwans podcast every Thursday night. Everyone, thank you for joining in. Thanks for joining in the discussion. And I hope everyone has a good night. And we will see you next week talking about
Saturday.
We will see you Saturday to talk to people who are home from Celebration. They are back from Japan. They brought us a bunch of katanas. And
fuck yeah.
And we'll be talking about all the good Celebration news, how it was for them. But after that, it will be Thursday to talk about Andor Season 2, Arc 2, Phase 2, Part 2. Thank you guys for joining, and have a good night.
May the force be with